Whether you realize it or not, every struggle in life originates from the mind, and every victory is attained through wisdom and inner clarity. The obstacles we face are not merely external. They are reflections of the attachments, fears, and illusions within us. These mental strongholds act like chains, binding us to suffering and preventing us from realizing the peace and freedom that is already within us. But here is the truth. No attachment is unbreakable, and no suffering is permanent. Through mindfulness, right effort, and insight, we can dissolve these inner walls and step into a life of true liberation. Today, we will explore how to uproot these deep-seated mental barriers and cultivate a state of freedom that aligns with the wisdom of the Buddha. By understanding the nature of suffering and the path to liberation, we will transform struggle into spiritual awakening. Let me remind you of this profound truth from the Buddha's teachings. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. This means that our struggles, our limitations, and even our suffering are deeply rooted in the way we perceive and react to life. If we are bound by fear, anger, or craving, our reality will reflect these inner states. But if we cultivate mindfulness, wisdom, and compassion, we create a path to lasting peace. True transformation begins with recognizing that our battles are not fought in the external world, but within our own consciousness. The walls we face are not built by others but by our own attachments and misconceptions. And just as they were built, they can be dismantled, brick by brick, thought by thought, action by action. Imagine trying to cross a vast river that separates you from peace and contentment. If the mind is clouded by illusion, that river will seem impossible to cross. But the teachings of the Buddha provide the tools, the raft of wisdom, the bridge of mindfulness, and the guiding light of right understanding. Today, I invite you to take hold of these tools and walk boldly into the freedom that has always been available to you. The key lies in identifying and understanding the strongholds of the mind, those deeply ingrained patterns of thought that keep us stuck in cycles of suffering. Before we can free ourselves, we must first understand what binds us. A mental stronghold is not just a passing emotion or a moment of weakness. It is a deeply rooted belief, reinforced by habit and illusion, that shapes the way we see ourselves in the world. The Buddha taught in the Dhammapada, "What we are today comes from our thoughts of yesterday, and our present thoughts build our life of tomorrow. Our life is the creation of our mind." This reveals a powerful truth. Our patterns of thinking dictate our reality. When the mind is clouded by false perceptions, such as believing we are unworthy, incapable, or destined for suffering, those thoughts manifest as our lived experience. Just as a fortress stands strong against external forces, mental strongholds create resistance against change. They prevent us from embracing the wisdom that leads to peace. These barriers can take many forms: fear, attachment, resentment, arrogance, or indulgence in desires that lead us away from inner tranquility. These mental barriers do not arise out of nowhere. They are often rooted in past wounds, false perceptions, and deeply ingrained habits. If we are to free ourselves, we must be willing to examine these illusions and see them for what they truly are: impermanent and without real substance. As the Buddha taught, you only lose what you cling to. Fear, for example, may arise from past failures or rejection, leading us to believe that we are not worthy of happiness. This belief keeps us in a cycle of self-doubt and suffering. Resentment might feel justified, as if holding on to anger protects us. But in reality, it is like grasping a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. We are the ones who get burned. Attachment to fleeting pleasures may seem fulfilling, but it ultimately leads to suffering because all things are impermanent. The more we chase external validation or material gain, the more we become entangled in dissatisfaction. This is why the truth is the key to freedom. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from ignorance, but wisdom is what dissolves it. If we do not recognize the illusions that hold us back, we will continue to be bound by them. But once we shine the light of awareness on our mental strongholds, their power begins to dissolve. The first step in breaking free is self-inquiry. Ask yourself, what beliefs or fears are keeping me from inner peace? What attachments am I clinging to that only cause suffering? What habits or thought patterns reinforce my struggles? By reflecting deeply, we begin to uproot the causes of suffering at their source rather than merely treating their symptoms. The next step is to replace illusion with wisdom. Once we identify the mental barriers in our lives, we must question them. Are these beliefs truly real? Or are they conditioned responses we have carried for too long? A person who has always felt unworthy might believe, "I will never be good enough." But this is not a truth. It is a learned perception. When examined through wisdom, it is revealed as an illusion. Someone who holds on to resentment may feel that forgiveness is a weakness. But in reality, letting go is the greatest strength, because it frees us from the suffering caused by clinging to the past. Pride may arise as a defense against insecurity, but true confidence is found in humility and openness to learning. Addiction or unhealthy attachments might seem like they offer comfort, but they are only temporary escapes. The real source of peace comes from inner balance, not external distractions. Each of these examples shows that our suffering is not caused by external circumstances, but by how we relate to them. When we shift our perception, we transform our reality. Challenges in life are not permanent. They arise and pass away like waves in the ocean. No suffering is eternal, and no obstacle is beyond transformation. Through deep understanding, mindfulness, and the practice of the Dharma, we can dissolve these barriers and walk freely on the path of enlightenment. Let us now explore how to cultivate inner strength and use the wisdom of the Buddha to break free from attachments and mental afflictions. Once we recognize the strongholds of suffering within us, the next step is to engage in mindful effort. This is not a battle against external forces, but an inward journey, where wisdom, meditation, and ethical conduct serve as our weapons against ignorance and craving. The Dhammapada teaches, "Greater in battle than the man who would conquer 1,000,000 men is he who would conquer just one, himself." This reminds us that our greatest struggle is not against the world, but against our own delusions, fear, attachment, and ignorance. To break free, we must cultivate the right tools and wield them skillfully. The first tool we must embrace is meditation. Meditation is our direct connection to clarity and peace. It is the means by which we silence the restless mind and awaken insight. As the Buddha said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." Through mindfulness, we observe our thoughts without attachment, recognizing that they are fleeting and do not define us. When practiced consistently, meditation dissolves negative thought patterns and cultivates equanimity and wisdom. Another essential tool is the power of truth. The Dhammapada states, "Three things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth." Falsehoods, whether self-deception or misunderstandings, are the root of suffering. When we align our thoughts and actions with truth, we dispel illusions and bring clarity to our lives. The teachings of the Buddha are not just philosophical concepts. They are a living path to liberation. When we contemplate the Dharma and integrate it into our daily lives, it serves as a powerful force, cutting through ignorance like a sword. Right speech, right thought, and right action are essential in dismantling strongholds. The Buddha emphasized, "Speak only that which is true, kind, and beneficial." By consciously choosing words that promote peace rather than harm, we purify our speech and weaken the grip of negative karma. Fasting, both of the body and the mind, is another powerful practice. By renouncing desires and practicing self-discipline, we quiet the cravings that keep us bound to suffering. Through moderation and mindfulness in consumption, whether of food, entertainment, or material possessions, we free ourselves from dependence on external sources of happiness. Faith in the Dharma is another powerful force. Not blind belief, but confidence in the truth of reality. The Buddha said, "Doubt everything. Find your own light." This means we must question our fears and doubts, looking deeply into their origins. Most of our suffering arises not from actual hardship, but from the stories we tell ourselves about it. When we cultivate faith in wisdom, rather than fear and uncertainty, we open ourselves to limitless possibilities. Another transformative practice is offering kindness. In moments of doubt or suffering, instead of focusing inward, shift your attention to compassionate action. A story from the Buddha's life tells of a grieving mother who lost her child. Seeking relief, she came to the Buddha, who asked her to bring him a mustard seed from a house untouched by death. She searched but found none, realizing that suffering is universal. Through this awakening of wisdom, she transformed her pain into compassion for others. Chanting and reciting mantras also serve as powerful acts of spiritual purification. The sound of wisdom resonates not just in the external world, but within the mind, reinforcing clarity and peace. One ancient practice is the recitation of the Metta Sutta, the discourse on loving kindness. The Buddha taught that by generating boundless love, one dissolves anger and resentment. Instead of focusing on struggles, shift attention toward cultivating joy for yourself and others. Perseverance is crucial. The Dhammapada reminds us, drop by drop the water pot is filled. Likewise, the wise one, gathering little by little, fills himself with good. Breaking free from suffering does not happen overnight. It requires consistent practice, patience, and deep introspection. Another key element in this journey is spiritual companionship. The Buddha emphasized the importance of wise friends who uplift and support us. As a single candle can light 1,000 others, so too does virtue spread. Surround yourself with those who cultivate wisdom and compassion. Share your struggles with trusted companions, for in openness and connection, healing begins. Recognizing impermanence is also vital. Nothing lasts forever, neither suffering nor pleasure. When we deeply understand that all things are temporary, we release attachment and experience true peace. Liberation is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new way of being. Even after awakening, vigilance is required. The mind will attempt to revert to old habits, and external challenges will arise. The Dhammapada states, just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so, the wise remain undisturbed by praise or blame. This reminds us to remain steady in wisdom, not swayed by emotions or external circumstances. Mental renewal is a daily practice. The Buddha taught, each morning we are born again. What we do today matters most. Thus, instead of being trapped by the past, focus on the present moment, for this is where true transformation occurs. Living in wisdom means living with the right intention. Align your thoughts, words, and actions with compassion and clarity. Guard the mind as you would a treasure. The Buddha warned, "The thought manifests as the word manifests as the deed develops into habit, and habit hardens into destiny." This means that every small choice shapes your path. By maintaining mindfulness, avoiding distractions, and practicing discipline, you reinforce freedom and peace. As we close, let us reflect. What attachments am I still clinging to? What illusions must I dissolve? How can I bring wisdom and compassion into today's actions? Remember, the path to liberation is not a distant goal. It is walked step by step, in every moment of mindfulness. The mind is shaped by what it absorbs, whether through relationships, media, or conversations. If we nourish our minds with wholesome and virtuous teachings, we strengthen our inner peace and resilience against suffering. Forgiveness is an essential part of breaking free from attachments. The Buddha taught, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Resentment binds us to suffering, while forgiveness liberates the heart. When we choose to forgive, we release the weight of past wounds and open ourselves to peace. Another way to sustain freedom is through gratitude and mindfulness. The Buddha emphasized, "Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn much today, at least we learned a little. If we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. If we did get sick, at least we are still alive. Let us be thankful." Gratitude shifts our focus from suffering to the beauty of the present moment. It reinforces our confidence in the path of wisdom and reminds us that all difficulties are impermanent. Similarly, mindful praise, whether through chanting, reciting the Dharma, or reflecting on the Buddha's teachings, uplifts the spirit and reinforces clarity. But we must remain vigilant. The Buddha warned, "Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts." This reminds us that delusions and attachments will always seek to return. Even when we feel free, we must continue practicing mindfulness to avoid falling back into old habits. A meaningful life is one rooted in wisdom and compassionate action. When we dedicate ourselves to serving others, through kindness, generosity, and the right livelihood, we leave little room for suffering to take hold. The Buddha advised, "Your work is to discover your world and then with all your heart give yourself to it." A mind engaged in meaningful purpose is a mind that thrives in clarity and peace. Furthermore, the journey to liberation is not about perfection. The Buddha reassured, "No matter how hard the past, you can always begin again. Even when we stumble, we must trust that progress is made through patience, self-compassion, and unwavering effort. To truly uproot suffering, we must be diligent and intentional. Liberation is not an accident. It is the result of awareness, practice, and trust in the Dharma." The Buddha's final words were, "Be a lamp unto yourself. Work out your own liberation with diligence." This reminds us that the journey is in our own hands. The teachings are here, but we must walk the path ourselves. Now let us take a moment to reflect on meditation. Venerable and wise teacher of all beings, I bow to the infinite wisdom of the Dharma. May I walk with mindfulness, patience, and a heart free from fear. May my mind be a fortress of peace, and may I walk in wisdom, free from the illusions of suffering. I trust in the path, and I surrender all attachments that bind me to suffering. May my life be a light for others, and may all beings be free from pain. Take a deep breath. Feel the presence of wisdom within you. Let go of the burdens of the past and step into this moment with peace and clarity. Gratitude fills the heart when we reflect on the blessings of the present. We may not have all that we desire, but we have this breath, this moment, this opportunity to awaken. The Buddha taught, "The greatest wealth is contentment." Thus, we do not need to seek beyond ourselves. Everything we need, wisdom, peace, and liberation, is already within. With this awareness, let us let go of all resentment, fear, and self-doubt. May our hearts be cleansed, our thoughts be clear, and our actions be rooted in wisdom. Now, I invite you to make a firm resolve. I release all fear, attachment, and self-doubt. I step forward with mindfulness and compassion. No illusion, no craving, no suffering will bind me. I am free. When we affirm wisdom, it strengthens our minds. Just as a river carves through stone, repeated practice and right thought shape our destiny. The Buddha declared, "With our thoughts we make the world." Therefore, may your thoughts be filled with peace, your words with kindness, and your actions with wisdom. As we continue our journey, let us extend this blessing to all beings. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings find peace. May all beings awaken to the path of wisdom. By radiating loving kindness, we not only heal ourselves but also uplift the world. Take another deep breath. Feel the calmness within you. This is your natural state. Free, unshaken, and at peace. Now let us strengthen our commitment to mindfulness. The Buddha said, "Each morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most." This means that every day is an opportunity to begin anew. No matter what has happened in the past, the present moment is where our power lies. Let us walk forward in wisdom, knowing that we are already on the path to freedom. If you have received insight from this reflection, I invite you to affirm your commitment by commenting, "May I walk in wisdom. May I be free from suffering. May I awaken to truth." By doing this, you not only reinforce your own path but also inspire others on their journey. Furthermore, if this message has been meaningful to you, share it with someone who may need peace and encouragement. Let us build a community of wisdom seekers, supporting one another on this sacred path. For those who are new to this path, know this. The Buddha welcomes all seekers. Your past does not define you, your present awareness does. No matter where you have been, you are always welcome on the path of wisdom. If you feel ready to take the next step, start with small acts of mindfulness, kindness, and meditation. Remember, there are only two mistakes one can make along the road to truth: not going all the way and not starting. Today, let us start. If you feel called to deepen your practice, seek a community of like-minded practitioners. Whether through meditation, study, or acts of service, find a path that nourishes your soul. May this journey bring you peace, clarity, and boundless wisdom. Finally, if you have a prayer or intention, write it in the comments below. As a community, let us uplift one another, support each other in wisdom, and cultivate a world of compassion. Even if you do not see a reply, trust that your thoughts have been received. Know this: you are not alone. You are supported. You are walking the path of freedom. May the wisdom of the Buddha guide your steps, steady your heart, and illuminate your mind. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings find peace. May all beings awaken.